Return to Glory podcast. Hunter Zarbanicki here to start off the top of the episode. It's been a few weeks actually, since we've last been on air. Life's caught up with us here in 2025, including here for our last episode. A lot of Husker basketball, a lot of recruiting news, as always, and some college football playoff, NFL playoff reaction coming your way. Dakota Freitag, Austin Rose with the duo episode on their own. Then you'll hear back from me at the end.
I hate both.
Return to Glory podcast. Austin Rose, Dakota Freitag, Hunter Zarbanicki is probably adding a little bit to the beginning of this podcast. He, to my understanding from the text message, Jack, correct me if I'm wrong, was super upset that he lost a high school girls basketball game.
Yeah, that's what I picked up on. I don't think he's in
just
the
I'm
talking
just not
mood
in the
right
mood
now.
to pod. I'm so sad that we lost. Which, when you're coaching, I get it.
Yeah,
He didn't give any context outside of we lost a basketball game. And I was like, all right, cool.
I tried to find the score, couldn't find it, so I don't know what happened there.
Oh, I haven't even thought to look. It must have been rough. But yeah, so it is just us for now. Hunter will add some commentary at the beginning or the end of this, to my understanding. But it's been a while, Dak. How's it going? You lost your phone. We were talking about that beforehand. You got a new number.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why we haven't had a podcast in a while. That's one of the reasons. The other one is Nebraska basketball. We just don't want to talk about them.
Yeah.
We just
But we have to.
So our last pod was before the Iowa game, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so
Because we were supposed to meet, we were going to talk about the Purdue game, but then we got destroyed. We're like F it, we're not going to talk today.
yeah, and I didn't have a phone, so I couldn't.
And then the next week, I think you lost your phone.
Yep. So Purdue was the last game before that. You're gonna have to get the context on that one. All I saw from it, because I didn't even know it was on TV, was that Purdue just shot the lights out basically in that game.
So okay. So it's been a while. Let's go through it. So we lost to Iowa in overtime. We beat UCLA, number 15 UCLA by 10 at home.
Yep.
Or 8 at home. Felt pretty good. We go to Iowa. We go on a 9-0 run to close the game, basically to send it to overtime. We lose in overtime by 10. Then we roll into Purdue and get absolutely thumped.
Rob, oh yeah.
36-point loss. And yeah, it's just Purdue shot lights out. Then we roll into Rutgers. We have a decent lead early on, and then it's pretty much competitive back and forth. We lose to Rutgers by 3 at home, a rare pinnacle loss. Then we go to Maryland. We lose to Maryland by 3. We come back home, lose to USC by 5, get thumped by Wisconsin yesterday. So we've lost 6 in a row. Fred Hoiberg seat's warming up. Pretty much, if I had to describe what's happening, is we're struggling with just Big Ten athleticism, and our biggest issue is our defensive scheme's good enough to hold up against larger post players, but if the other team is shooting well, we are terrible at the kick and pop, like the drive and kicks.
Yep.
And if they're hitting those shots, we're just SOL'd. Like that's basically the crux of it. I think I saw somewhere that 44 in our losses, our opponents are shooting 44% from 3. In our wins, they're shooting 27% from 3 or something like that. So we knew our offense was going to be a problem. It's just when your offense is going to be a problem, your defense can't have a liability like 3-point shooting, and it's been real rough.
And it's what we said at the beginning of the year. What the problem was going to be was if you don't have your 2 stars playing nice out, Jawan and Bryce.
Yep.
They're gonna be a problem. And for a while there, you had other guys stepping up, like a Cejin. Buchengel has just fallen off the map. Like it's like none of your other players, and honestly, Bryce Williams is playing awful too. That's another thing.
Yes.
Like he's the main one, which teams are just locking him up now.
I think that's part of it. I think just defensively, teams are locking in on Bryce Williams.
Yeah, and it's not like he's like an absolute superstar either. Like I don't. It basically it's boom or bust with those two. If you don't have because Jawan's been playing good.
Yeah.
It's just been Bryce Williams hasn't done anything, so everyone else has done nothing. Now, now your other Morgan, you do have some role players stepping up. Morgan has played well in this
Hmm.
stretch. He's about the only only one though. Season's still shooting well. Other than that, those other guys are
Aaron
doing nothing
Newland's had a
for you.
good game a while back. Like they're just everyone's a little bit too streaky, and we're not good enough team talent wise to be streaky.
Yeah,
Like we need everyone to be doing well, and it's just it has not worked out. And I don't know if I agree with the discourse on we have to fire Fred Hoiberg. He's a poser. This is Scott Frost energy. Um, because I mean we're right there. You look at four of those games, we lost in overtime, the other two we lost by 5 or fewer points. Like it's not like we're getting killed. I mean, we got killed by Purdue, but Purdue is also a really good team.
and honestly, I look at it this way: what was the expectations coming in the year? Like,
I think, and yeah, you're right. I mean, the expectations were, I think before the season started, most of us had us as a bubble team at best. I don't know if really
yeah,
anyone was like, this team's gonna make the tourney.
the reason why people are freaking out so much right now is because of that hot start you had.
Right, we started what, 12-2?
12 and yeah,
Yeah,
you
12
lost.
and
Yeah,
2.
12-2. Yeah,
And
which
one of
which
our
that
losses was to
feels.
St. Mary's in a tournament game where we lost by 3. Like it's just
Yeah, you. So the reason why everyone yes freaking out is because of how hot you started there, and you're like, well, this team is the tournament team, and I started. Okay, I never really knew for sure or thought Nebraska was that good this year until that UCLA game. And I was like, holy crap, they might actually be good.
I agree.
But
I think that's also part of it is just timing. Is we beat UCLA, we beat Creighton, and we beat UCLA for that 12th win, and then we roll into Iowa on the road. We lose in overtime. We were like, okay, like we just had a big victory at home. We lose in overtime on the road. Like we start
you,
out against Rutgers, we're looking good, and then it just the wheels fell off.
yeah, and I don't know what you're thinking, but I think it's completely fallen off now. Like I think
Oh yeah, I think we're not making the tournament.
no,
I mean, it would
you
require just an absolute tear of we beat, 18 Illinois, 16 Oregon. We basically have, I don't want to say we have to win out, but we see how many games we have left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
well, that's the
12.
fun part is you got three straight ranked right here. So
Right. I think we have 12 more games. 8, 9, 10, 11. I mean, we have to go 8-3 probably to have a
yeah, that
hope.
gets you
That would get us to
20 at home.
20 and 13.
I mean, there's one main problem with Hoiberg is, and it's been ever since he got here is you cannot win on the road at all.
Nope.
Especially come Big Ten play. It's like on the road, it's just completely different, and it's usually just an ass kicking on the road too. Like none of these games have been close.
Right.
Like yesterday, Wisconsin, what they start down 19-2,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't you can't come out expecting to win a game when you're down by that much against a good team like them.
and we lost by 28. So it
Yep,
wasn't it
they
I
they
don't
did
know.
battle back though, tied it up. I was like, okay, maybe I got something cooking here. Nope, that turned quick.
They just don't have that. They don't have the guy that, like I said, they have spurts, but they're just so inconsistent. Their cold streaks are so cold.
Yeah,
They can go 7 minutes a game without scoring, and it's like, oh, this is normal.
that's another thing. Hoiberg is like last year too. Even last year, they had these scoring droughts that just kill you every game. It's like, yeah, like I said, 6, 7 minutes, you go without a basket easy. It's like, I don't know. And he's not, his philosophy's been basically gut the team every year
Hmm.
and bring in these transfers, which last year it worked. Um, but you can't keep losing all these players, like these good players like CJ Wilcher, I guess, is one you lost last year. But then people forget you also lost Rank Mass, one of your best.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you feel a little better because our offense. we were looking for that true point guard, and I don't know if we still don't have a point guard. Like
You're
there
you're
isn't
you're telling me Euless isn't it?
Ulis isn't it? I mean, Bryce Williams leads the team with assists with 2.5. Or no, sorry, Raleigh Worcester leads the team with 3 assists, just under 3 assists.
And I don't know what you think about him. I'm not big on Wooster. Beginning of the year is like, oh, this guy's okay. I think he's not.
I don't think he's that good. I
He's
mean, he's shooting
offensively.
44% from the field and 24% from three. Like, it's like cool. We have you out there. You can't shoot a freaking point. You can only get us 3 assists in 20 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
If you're not passing the ball, you're not great on defense, and you aren't great at shooting.
and that's so. So I think Hoiberg's finally figuring that out. He's trying to just do anything possible, switch the lineups up, find anything for the point. I think your point guard position is the main problem right now. You have nobody that can lead this team, and Bryce is not a true point guard either. He's
No,
he's more out there.
he's a shooting guard.
Yeah, he's your shooting guard. Well, when you don't have a point guard that can score, that really puts the burden on him then
Right.
to
So he has
just
to score and pick up the defensive assignment and assist.
with the whole team trying to lock it, like basically go 5-on-1 at some points. It's like I
Yeah.
don't know. It's
It's
which Ulis was the one I thought when they started him, I thought he was going to be okay at point guard, and boy, he has done nothing.
no. I mean, he had like he against Iowa, he had a real moment, but
Yeah,
I mean, he's shooting 20% from three, 35% from the field. He's only playing 14 minutes a game, less than 1 assist a game, I mean, he's only averaging zero point 0.6 assists a game. Like,
he's almost unplayable.
he's
But
almost unplayable because he can't even hit free throws. It's like you're a freaking
no,
point guard. That's the one thing point guards need. It's like you have to be able to pass the ball and hit your free throws.
yeah, it's
So, outlook on the rest of the season, you look at the schedule, we've lost 6 in a row. I suspect we'll probably lose another two. So it's probably gonna be 8 in a row, and the knife's gonna be in the team, and I think it call it cooked.
yeah. Illinois tomorrow. That's tomorrow, right?
Yep, it's at
Illinois,
home.
Illinois at home tomorrow. That's the one for sure. Season's over. If they lose that. Like that's your only hope. Win that game at home somehow, and maybe turn something around. But like I don't. Do you
Okay.
are you out on Hoiberg?
No, I'm not. I think Nebraska as a basketball program has so much it has to do, and last year was real progress, and the start to this year was real progress. And like I said, we've lost 4 of the 6 games. We're right there,
Yeah,
you know. So I don't think I'm out on them yet. If we end the year sub 500, probably a different tune. But I'll give them the rest of the year to figure it out.
yeah. That's the thing is, who are you gonna bring that's better? Like,
I mean, there's someone out there. There are better coaches out there. It's just you'd have to take a chance on someone, and you're starting
yeah,
from square one.
yeah.
Or
It's different from the football team. Like you'll get this guy time, but it's getting to the point where it's like it's
right,
either you got to figure it out now or
or it's not getting figured out.
no. And you're losing everybody after this season too. You're losing Jawan and Bryce.
And uh,
Rank will be back.
Rank will be back.
Maybe he could jump ship, but uh,
Yeah, let's see who our seniors are. Raleigh's a senior. Bryce, Aaron, Andrew Morgan, Braxton, me, Rank, and Jawan. So of players who are actually, I mean, Beer K and Connor Esiason are really the only two. Sam Hoiberg, we'd have those three that are
yeah.
maybe contributors right now.
And boy, that's no super team right there. I'll tell you.
No, that is rough.
But then you look at players that leave. You like CJ Wilcher would have been like your number 3 this year for sure. And
Yeah.
you look at him at A&M, he's playing like 5 minutes a game. I was looking at his stats the other day. He's not playing at all. It's like, how good are these players you actually have?
Right. When they go to other teams and they don't even crack like the second string lineup.
Yeah, and CJ Wilcher might have been your best player on the team this year. For sure, your third. Um, so I don't know. It's
It's tough. All right. Enough sad talk. Let's talk. We have not talked since I don't even know if we talked after the semifinals for the college football playoffs, which were both, I'm trying to remember how those shook out. Ohio State killed,
Ohio State beat Texas.
beat
Thank God.
Texas. That's right.
Last second. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And then Notre Dame got killed by, no,
No, Notre
Notre
Dame
Dame
beat
killed, wait,
Penn State,
Penn State. There we go.
which um I don't I don't know how Ohio State did it after that Michigan game. I was completely out of them. But man, this whole playoffs, easily the best team in the nation. Like they
Well,
proved it. I mean, you gotta think the road they went down. Tennessee. So they beat
it's
Tennessee,
beat Oregon.
killed Oregon. They killed both of those teams. I thought I picked them both. Both games I picked them to lose those games. So then they killed Oregon. Texas would have been next. I mean, it did come down towards the end against Texas, but I thought they controlled that. It felt like they controlled that whole game.
Yep, I
Um,
agree.
and then you go title game. Ohio State freaking kills Notre Dame. Basically, another game came down toward last second, whatever. But they controlled that whole game there too. So I don't think there was any doubt that Ohio State was the best team in the nation.
No, I mean the only doubt you have, I mean the only doubt you really have is like, well, Oregon beat them, but then they killed Oregon again.
Yeah.
In a
So
third matchup, does Oregon win again? Do they win? I feel all right with it. My big complaint is honestly, I had moved on from college football by the time by the championship game. I honestly forgot it was happening. I was like, NFL playoffs are on. I don't care. Like,
see, that's one thing about these playoffs is they push that title game way too far back. Um, and it felt like everybody forgot. Like there was no hype going in this game at all. I didn't hear anything about it.
no.
Honestly, I'm with you on that. I kind of forgot it was on until I turned on TV. It's like, oh crap, the pregame show's on.
ESPN was trying their best by having like Ryan Day and Marcus Freeman on all the time, but I was like, I don't care, man. And that could be a product of I just, it's not Nebraska football and I just didn't care that much, but the games hadn't been that compelling up until that point, and I really didn't think it was going to be that compelling. Because do you really think Notre Dame was the second best team in the country?
No, but the playoffs shook out that like
I know. And I get it. That's how it works. Um,
I mean, you
but
play Georgia, the backup quarterback. It's like
right.
I so going in these playoffs, I was pumped about this 12 team playoff. I the first week, and then it slowly died down as it got farther into it. I feel like my hype for it, like
Right. Because you watch the same teams play, which it's how regular playoffs work. But it's like I don't care to watch Ohio State 4 times in a row. I really
no,
like the NFL is probably it's a little bit different because it's not, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't really have a team that I root for in the NFL particularly. I have teams I root against, but it's like, all right, like I'll watch, and most of the games are usually good outside of the Washington Commanders Eagles game, which we can talk
yep,
about later. Um, but it's like I don't want to watch Ohio State's roster, who they have probably the most expensive roster in college football. I don't want to watch them 4 times in a row, but that's just me.
yeah, and it's I feel like that the championship game too. Like a lot of people don't like Ohio State and Notre Dame.
That's true. That's true. They aren't likable fan bases or
No,
likable
no
teams.
one's no one's dying to go watch Notre Dame football, I feel like.
No, outside of people from Notre Dame.
And they're just not they weren't an exciting team like
Well, because they didn't play like really any big games.
no, they so that's another thing the playoffs is. Notre Dame, which I don't know if it'll start changing people's scheduling is. Notre Dame went this whole season didn't really play anybody.
Let's see who
Sneak in
they
the
played
playoffs.
outside, but they won in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They
And they
beat Indiana.
who was their second game? I cannot think who it was. Notre Dame.
They beat Indiana, Georgia,
Georgia. Yep, that's okay. Georgia with back quarterback.
which we all kind of thought Indiana was maybe a bit above, punching above their weight class this year. But you look at the regular season, it's like they beat number 22 Army,
Lost in Northern Illinois.
Boston, Northern Illinois.
Now another way you can look at it is how the hell did Nebraska hang in with Ohio State? Should have beat them. That's
Basically national
that's
champ.
that's when looking back on it, you're like, what happened that game?
Ohio State still lost to Michigan
Yeah,
like 2 weeks before.
yeah. And you see all these like they have freaking Jeremiah Smith and Will Howard. Yeah, all Ohio State's offense was at the end there was just the very last play of their season. Just chuck up to Jeremiah Smith. He's somewhere down there. Like
Yep, and he'll catch it.
it's like where was that against Nebraska and against Michigan?
I don't. They probably just tried to have an offense, and they're like, we don't need an offense. We have the best player on the field. Here you go,
No, it's
Jeremiah.
no, and Nebraska should have beat them. It's like
I know.
I don't,
Yeah. Well, Nebraska has a knack for finding ways not to beat people.
they tried their hardest that game. They more did they
Well, what is your opinion? I mean, yes. So I know Hunter wanted us to talk about discoursing around playoff format. The ACC came out and said maybe they won't. Their best team, the regular season champion, won't play in their championship game. It'll be between their number 2 and number 3 seed.
really I did not see that.
That the commissioners came out and said that they're considering doing that because then their regular season champion doesn't risk losing, and their 2 and 3 seed has a chance to buff their resume. And
See,
then
that's
someone was making the argument that yeah, what happens when a team opts out of their championship game?
yeah,
Because Ohio State didn't play a championship game. Notre
yeah,
Dame didn't play a championship game.
and I think it's going to get to the point where, like I said, teams are just going to not schedule anybody hard and just sneak in the playoffs, and then from there you don't know what happens. Like Notre Dame, you just find a
Right.
way. Now I do think, I mean, it's the first year of it. They're going to change it up, like, and it might already happen next year. I do think, I do think that you need to change up the way it's seeding. You can't have Boise State as a 4 seed and then the 3 seed Arizona State, which they hung with Texas. I will give them that, but I feel like you need to rank it actually going into like the top 12 teams. Just completely
The
scrap the championship format, all that. Just right when you get on 12, rank them from there.
Well, I mean, I think the reason that they have that is to incentivize the championship weekend.
Yeah.
That's why it's like you have to care about your championship game, but now it's like, well, if you get rid of the bye, do I care?
Which, like you said, I think teams will opt out.
I do too.
I like that. There's no point of Penn State or Oregon playing that game this year.
How long before they just completely stop doing conference championship games?
It's you're gonna have a team opt out here pretty soon, like within the next 2 years, and then that's gonna change everything. It's like why play this game? So
Say you're Ohio State, say you're Oregon, like why would I play this game or Penn State even? It's like, all
with
right, yeah,
injuries and all that. It's like
I'm gonna be in the top 12. Why play this game? Especially
so
like for Ohio State or Oregon, where it's like, well, we had to freaking play each other anyways. It didn't matter.
so back to Notre Dame is they didn't play a conference title game So they were in no matter what. But then you have a game with Clemson SMU where basically winner goes basically is how it was, but it ended up being both teams got in. But I don't know. I think it's
Well,
going to
or
be
Arizona State. I don't, if Arizona State didn't win Big 12, I don't know if they make the championship.
yeah. Say there was no title game then they would have been in no matter what. It's like
Great. I don't know. I think I'm fine with it. Current format. It's never going to be perfect. We're always going to have to watch a lot of extra football, which I shouldn't be complaining about. But like I said, 4 weeks of watching Ohio State and Notre Dame was a lot.
see that's going in the playoffs. Like this can be awesome. Lot more football, everything. And towards the end, I was like, okay, this is too much. It's
That part of that is also because the NFL was like, it's like, all
deep in
right,
their playoffs.
yeah, they're in their playoffs. It's like, I
Yeah,
don't care about this anymore. This is more exciting now. But
and I think the transfer portal too is kind of killing
oh
uh,
yeah, because you're
college.
not going to see any of those. Like, I
Well,
mean,
Howard's done. He's like
yeah,
he has one moment there. It's like now he's national champ, but I don't know. Yeah, none of those players on House like Jeremiah Smith. He's out. Everybody's gone. Like I I feel like college has to fix it to where it's harder to know now who is on a team that's playing going into it, unless you're like a diehard Archer Wall fan. Like you have no idea who's.
which I do think that's why I like watching NFL better. Is like I
Yep.
know these players. Like I know who's playing and I know who's catching the ball. I'm not panicking.
Yeah. It's you know what players, and they're gonna be back next year too in the NFL. Like
Yeah.
you're not worried about your players leaving. Like honestly, back to rest for a second. It's like it was like it's almost surprising when a person like Raiola stays.
Yeah.
You just expect everybody that had a good year is just going to dip,
Yeah.
follow the money.
I'm surprised like Ja'Cory Barney didn't go.
Yeah, it's college has a lot to fix, and I think portal's number one. I think the problem is they're going to keep expanding the playoffs because it's how much money it brings in
Oh yeah.
until, which I guess I do like more football. I will say it's the first round sucked, was absolutely terrible. Um, which has to do with the fact that should teams like if SMU been in Indiana, like I don't know,
What do you do though when a team like Indiana, they lost 2 games? There's Ohio State and Notre. They only lose 1 game all year. They lost to Ohio State, right?
Ohio State, yeah,
Yeah.
didn't have to play a conference title game. See, that's one too. They had an easy schedule. They just rode that all the way till the end.
Yeah,
Make
pretty
the
much
playoffs. That's what I think teams are venturing and which you can't do that with your conference. I get it, but
to an extent.
yeah,
I mean, now the conferences are getting bigger.
it makes you almost not want to be in a conference. Basically, go Notre Dame route. Just schedule your own teams.
Because I mean, the
Skate till the end.
hardest,
Make the playoffs.
I guess Indiana did beat Michigan. They did beat Michigan. Outside of that, their next best win might have been Nebraska.
Nebraska. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they keep it at
Yep.
12 going from this point on.
All right. Let's talk football briefly before we hang up. We got like 5 more minutes. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not super excited to watch Eagles Chiefs.
I'm not either. Not one bit. I cannot stand Eagles fans.
I
One bit. I
can't
don't know. I don't
I
know.
can't
You're
stand
not an Eagles fan.
I can't stand either, man.
Okay, I don't. The Chiefs are okay, I guess. I don't really have it. Eagles fans though, I just can't.
They were ready to fire Sirianni last year after
I know
going
it's
13-4 or something.
It just feels like it's kind of like college too. Like watching that Sunday, I won't be anything pumped up. We saw this movie before 2 years ago.
Yep,
It's the
what's going
same
to happen
exact
is the
thing.
Eagles are going to lead, and Patrick Mahomes is going to play a bad game up until the last drive, and then he's going to win.
Yep, that's the way it's been. I was rooting for Bills and then obviously Commanders because
I was too.
I just wanted some new blood in the Super Bowl. That's all I really wanted. I'm
I
like,
really like Josh Allen.
and yeah, we can get into that. I guess. Is he ever going to be able to beat the Chiefs?
Inevitably the Chiefs will have a down year.
You think?
I I do. I think they've gotten relatively lucky on the defensive side with who they've been able to draft, and at some point they're gonna lose talent, and they're gonna lose enough talent in the organization that it's gonna be harder to fill back in. And Andy Reid's old. I mean, he's not gonna be there
Yeah.
for 10 more years.
Well, that's one thing people don't think about Chiefs is their defense. That
That's what's carried
wins
the
them.
whole year. I mean,
Yeah, Mahomes has not been like a stellar quarterback this year.
no, I mean if you look at his season stats, like let me pull it up. Like it's not great.
It's middle of the road. Top. I mean, he's been top 10 quarterback. He's obviously somebody you would take him on your team in a second. But it's just like
He had
yesterday. The
26
defense.
touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and he had under 4,000 yards,
Yeah,
67% completion.
it's like yesterday. Your defense seals that win for you. Send the blitz.
Yep.
Get Josh. But the thing with Mahomes is he always will make the play at the end to win you the game. Like that 3rd and 9.
Yep.
You knew that was going to happen.
We also did, yeah, I mean, there was um the Texans game. We didn't talk about the Texans game. That one was rough.
Go
But
into it.
whatever. It's fine. It's what the NFL wants. The NFL can have it. Just get the Bengals back in the playoffs, and the AFC is just absolutely freaking loaded with Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, with the occasional, you know, CJ Stroud or Justin Herbert.
Now it's a big time point right now. The refs for the Chiefs. What do you?
I mean, the fourth down spot for the Bills yesterday,
That
terrible.
was terrible. That was
Terrible.
awful. I'm not 100% sure he got that. Um, but for that ref to come in and be like, yeah, there's no doubt, like on the spot guy, he marked him like a half yard short of even where he was. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just come in and be like, yeah, no, that guy's short. I don't think it's the refs are as bad as what people are like saying for the Chiefs. Like they're not. It's glorified right now because everybody's watching that every single call. They're
True.
like,
I agree with that, but I also enjoy it because I don't like the Chiefs. So
yeah, there you go. I mean, I hate them too. I'm a Vikings fan. God, I wish I was just one.
uh, well, anything else you feel you need to say? There's no Husker
um,
here, so
Nothing I can think of. Not off the top of my head right now. I guess tomorrow, Huskers need a win
they do. I agree.
badly. It's
I guess. Oh, go for it.
basically season or go home tomorrow.
That's true. I say quick lady basketball shout out. The Lady Huskers doing pretty well. They've only lost 5 games, and it was to number 4, number 1, number 12, and number 17. And we lost by 6 yesterday, number 12 Ohio State. So feeling pretty good. All right. Couple more weeks. We'll be back. But until then, GBR.
Go Big Red.
Wow. Hunter's not even here to make you do it.
Return to Glory podcast. Hunter Zarbnicki here. Back thanks to Coda Austin for your duo episode. A little bit different here as we've been a few weeks off from updating you on all the recent Husker news. A lot of it not necessarily positive when it comes to Husker basketball. So I have not listened. I did not tune in to Dax and Austin's analysis and breakdown of the 3 topics that I gave them. But I'm going to give my own here, and we'll see and compare how much we matched up. So first topic is Nebraska basketball that I'll go with and start off on a little bit of a dull note. We've lost 5 or 6 in a row now, and the road woes continue for Fred Hoiberg and this basketball team. We drop a home game, past 2 home games to Rutgers and USC, and things aren't looking good right now. Forget the tournament. Let's just see if we can make the Big Ten conference tournament at this point as we sit second to last in the Big Ten standings. Here's to me what it comes down to with this team. How much fight, how much passion, how much care do they have to get back in the conversation, at least to the middle of the Big Ten? This team did that last year in really good fashion to end the year, and it got them an NCAA tournament berth. This year, when adversity strikes, we have seen this team shut down a lot. And especially on the road, when things aren't going our way early, Purdue, and then most recently, we saw Michigan State earlier, and then on the road at Maryland, we just don't seem to have much fight in us left. And that's a problem. It doesn't make for fun basketball to watch. It is not something that you want to tune into. And that's after the start that we had, and we're pretty much, I'm not going to say a lock, but a lot of people had us in their tournament. 59 of 60 of the brackets out there. If you would have talked to us on the first of the year, we were in. We're not now. And here's why this is troublesome for this team. Our defense is based on hustle, effort, grit. It's very schematic. It's not as much scouting based. Now there's obviously scouting components in there, but you got to play hard with all these rotations and no middle type of concept. There's not a whole lot of teams do it. And when it works, UCLA game, for example, it looks pretty damn good. And there's times that it is very fun to watch. But when you aren't playing hard, when there's a little sense of doubt and you're not playing together as a group, as a team, it does not work. We give up a ton of threes. That's a known fact. We give up the most threes as a percentage of the total opposing team's points in the country. That's not a hidden fact. But that comes to rotations and making the extra efforts on the defensive side of the ball. And when other teams are making shots and you get deflated as a defensive unit, it can be very frustrating. That's where things are at now. Now, the question is, on the defensive side of the ball, can we take a step forward in that extra second, third, fourth effort category to keep us in games? And I'm saying keep us in games right now because, as we've seen on the road, it's been ugly. So that's the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it's almost a fact of how much do we really want it? And under Hoiberg, the last couple of years anyways, that hasn't been the issue. Now go back to 2, 3, 4 years ago under Fred. This is similar effort and motivation that we've seen of, you know what, it is what it is. We don't care. And the score reflects that. On the offensive end, we are all over the place right now. A couple of puzzling things that come to mind. I mean, Connor Essegian is our spark as far as shooting threes. He's still not in the starting lineup. I understand that maybe there's some physicality or liability issues on the defensive side of the ball, but let's be real. He is the guy that can knock down shots for this team. Bryce Williams has been MIA the past few games. He had his breakout, was top 2 or 3 in the Big Ten in scoring, and that has fallen off. Teams have started to key in and take away his mid-range jumper, which is a very big strength of his game. And right now, I don't know what we have for an inside presence. I mean, Andrew Morgan has now been scouted very heavily, and people know what he can do. Braxton Mia has never really been an offensive threat. And Berke has yet to turn the tables as far as the offensive side of the ball. We're not getting much production out of our point guards. In fact, last game we didn't even start Aaron Eulis or Raleigh Wooster. We just are seeming to lack an identity once again under a Fred Hoiberg team. And you want to talk about what leads the losses in the Big Ten, and some of them have been close, but a lot of them not. When you go on scoring droughts, this is what happens. We're mixing starting lineups up right now, trying something different. Okay, great. Like I don't read into that stuff too much. You got to find the 5 guys that are going to give you your best option to win. And that combines both offensive and defensively what you think. And yeah, we're deep, but we still lack the playmaker, the scorer, the go-to guy. It was Bryce very clearly. It still, I think, needs to be Bryce, but we have to find ways to get him to be a part of this offense in an efficient way without playing like we used to with Cam Mack, with Alonzo Verge, with Teddy Allen. It can't be that kind of basketball because that clearly didn't work, and that really destroys the locker room. We have to find some adjustments here to get Bryce Williams back going with his talent. So where do things go from here for Husker basketball? Great question. We've said get to 500 in the Big Ten. That'll get you in the tournament. That's still a true statement, I think. I really do. But the schedule's toughening up here. We just played Wisconsin on Sunday. Another road game that we talked about that wasn't pretty. 2 more ranked opponents coming up, beginning with Illinois on Thursday at home. That'd be a big one. But there's nothing to believe that we're going to win that game right now, given our last few home games. It used to be the PBA, the vault. No one could come in and win. Well, guess what? Now it's happened twice. Does this team have fight left in them under Fred Hoiberg, under this coaching staff, to get back to the conversation of middle of the Big Ten pack? That's where we're at right now. I don't want to say I don't believe it, but it's been scary the last few games, and it's almost been as fun as it was to watch with this team a month ago. It's almost been equally as tough to watch from the last few weeks. So 500 in the Big Ten, I think that's the goal. But right now, don't even think about that. Let's just think about winning a couple of games. We talked about how you lose a game on the road, you make up for it for winning it at home, or vice versa. Lose a game at home, then you got to steal one on the road. Well, right now, we're not winning at all. So throw that out the window as well. We have to find a way to win games. The Big Ten Conference is not very, very top heavy, as we've mentioned before. Everybody is in a very similar boat. There's a lot of winnable games left on the schedule. There are going to be a lot of close ones. But does this team have the fight and the momentum to push through that? That's the question. That's what's yet to be seen. And if they don't, could this be the end of Fred Hoiberg at Nebraska? What does it look like for him if we can't get even a Big Ten tournament berth of being left out of there? I don't know. I don't know what the administration is going to think of that, given how the year started, given how we finished the year last year, and then given where we're going now. So that's my 2 cents here on Nebraska basketball. Let's move on to the second topic here is Nebraska football and without going detailed into the recruiting like we have in the past, there's still a lot of rumors, news out there of now some of the guys on the teams that played in the semifinals, the national championship, of potential transfers there. The portal's still crazy. We know that. We know there's going to be a lot of moving parts from now until the spring season kicks off here in a couple of months. What I am thinking about as a Husker football fan right now and Rule and the direction this program's going is you have to build a program and a roster, and you have the ability to do it now in the portal, that you think gives us the best chance to win in Nebraska, given what we have coming back and what we're able to retain from last year's team, whether that be for the NFL draft or for people leaving in the portal or just graduating. Here's the pieces we have coming back. What pieces do we need to add from the portal, from the recruiting classes, to get what you think gives us the best chance to win? That is ultimately your job as the head coach, as a coaching staff of a Division I football program. Dylan Raiola still lacks to run the ball as a quarterback. And that's the third piece, is developing your current players into what you believe. We have heard that that is what we think needs to be one potential solution for next year, is Dylan Raiola running the ball more. Maybe not completely designed. We're not saying Lamar Jackson type stats and play design, but being serviceable. Look at all these guys in the college football playoff. Look at them. Look at Will Howard. Look what Riley Leonard does. Look at Quinn Ewers, what he can do with his legs. Drew Aller, look what even he can do. He's not a running quarterback, but all four quarterbacks in the college football semifinals have the ability to be elusive in the pocket, scramble when need to, and when you need a first down, call a designed quarterback carry up the middle. Look at the NFL teams that are left. Look at the Eagles. Look at the Chiefs. That is what college football and football need. That's what you need as a quarterback. So that is one big item to improve on heading in as you think of an identity. I think that's what a coaching staff should believe in. No matter where you're at, what level you're playing at, that should be a part of your identity. But this leads the conversation into positions and what are you recruiting? What type of people do you want to get? What's most important when you're building a team? If you want to relate it to basketball, what kind of players are you going after? Are you going after the 3-level scorer wing? Are you going after a strong center first? Is that how you want to build your team around? Do you want a point guard that just manages the game? What are you building? How are you building your team? When it comes to Nebraska football and this staff and the program in general, it starts, and I really like this thought because I heard this from somewhere else, but it's true. It starts with the people that are closest to the football on the snap. That starts with your offensive line, specifically your center and guards, and then defensively, your interior defensive linemen. Those are your meaty, mighty boys up front that are going to do so much for you if you're strong at that position. That, to me, you just want to start somewhere, you start there. I get it. Quarterback's very important. I get it. There's other positions that are very important. But if you don't have anything up front, we saw that with Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez was the CFL or XFL, UFL, whatever it's called, Player of the Year this last year. You see it at programs similar to us like K-State. You see it how Iowa has trash quarterbacks year after year, but continue to outplay Nebraska because it starts up front. If we don't get that established from a recruiting standpoint, from a transfer portal standpoint, and it's limited, it is limited in the portal with the offensive linemen. But if you can't start there and get those pieces figured out, it doesn't matter anywhere else what you have. It doesn't. I don't know. I can't say for certain that this coaching staff believes in that. I don't know. We are trying to get linemen recruit, and they talk about it, but that doesn't mean crap when you go out in the field and our line continues to struggle against average teams. They weren't atrocious this year like they have been the past couple, but our strength of our team is not our offensive line. Hell, I don't know what our strength of our team is. We better be figuring that out. So I would start there. And guess what? Speaking to that same point, number 2 is your quarterback. It's very important, but it's the quarterback that fits into what you want to do in your identity. What does Matt Rule want out of his quarterback? What does Dana Holgerson now, Marcus Satterfield before, what do they want out of their quarterback? What is their ideal prototype? To start the year, to start the tenure, we grab Jeff Sims. Hoop, flop. Okay, we go out and get Dylan Raiola. Great. But is that the kind of quarterback that you're wanting for your system? Or because you got Dylan, now you're having to redesign your entire system to fit the type of quarterback that he is. Dylan had negative rushing yards, negative in high school. That's fine. He's very talented. We've seen the talent of his arm. We know what he can do mentally on that side of the ball. But he's got no legs, and that's fine. If you want to put your eggs in that basket, you have better either develop him into where he can be mobile, because every other great college football NFL team right now, that's what their quarterbacks can do. Or you better be damn good at figuring out a way to use him in the passing game. And goes back to the offensive line. Better have a damn good offensive line to not let him get sacked and hit back there in the pocket. That wasn't the case this year. Dylan had some mistakes of his own. He's still a freshman. I get it, but don't make that an excuse, people. Okay, if we want to hold him to a standard of being a 5-star quarterback and one of the top in his class, and Patrick Mahomes comparisons, and this guy having Heisman if we want to hold him to that, don't be making the excuse, he's just a freshman. He's got a long ways to learn. Well, that's the truth. I agree with that. It's up to the staff to develop him into what they want to get out of Dylan Raiola at the quarterback position. Dylan specifically, but the quarterback position I think is second most important after you talk about your interior offensive line. And I'll just throw this in there too. The rest of your line is probably next important to me. Your tackles, your DNs, your pass rushers, the guys that are blocking the pass rushers and protecting your quarterback. I think that's next most important. Yes, above running backs and receivers and your secondary. I think that's very important. I'm going to throw a fourth one here, and this maybe is a little bit of a recency bias, but I think this is more important than these next positions as far as winning close games. And I'm going to group them into one, but it is your specialists and special teams players. And I'm not talking about we need the best punter in the country. I'm not saying that. That'd be nice. But it's important from a standpoint of winning football games. I don't know that it's a third of the game. Some coaches like to call special teams a third of the game. I wouldn't go that far. But I would say special teams wins and loses you a lot of games. Ask Iowa and then ask Nebraska for different reasons. I think it's more important than having an elite running back. I do. From what we've seen in the past, special teams kicking the ball, hell, snapping the ball, holding the ball, punting the ball, covering kickoff, all of that combined is way more important to me than any other position outside of the offensive line, defensive line, and quarterback. Next up, I'm going linebackers. I think linebackers are your guys that have to fly around the field. They're making a lot of calls. They're your quarterback on defense. They're the ones that are being able to see a lot of the adjustments. So, some teams play with 2, 3, 4, depending on the formation. I think your linebackers are more important than, and guess what? They're next closer to the ball as we work our way out. After them, shortly after, I'd say your running backs. I think the ability to stop the run, which goes to the defensive groups, and then the ability to run the ball efficiently and effectively matters. And I really just hit home running backs, I think, is seeing their value and importance more so this year after watching some of these guys, Cam Scatabo from Arizona State, Ashton Genty from Boise State. Those were not great football teams all around, but single-handedly, those running backs are damn good. And you put those guys on a team like Nebraska, I think it significantly improves your chances of winning a lot of games. But I would also say those teams have an equally, if not better, offensive line than Nebraska, and people might disagree with that. And yes, their quality of opponents are different, but our schedule was pretty cake last year. It's going to be pretty cake next year. So having a running back, and I think Emmett Johnson showed signs of that later in the year as far as what he could be, as far as being more of a feature back. I don't think he's the level of those other two that I just mentioned, but he's pretty dang good. I think it's smart to use a guy like that and give him more carries if that's your only option. Now, Dante Dowdell out in the portal. We'll have some new guys in. We'll see if we can rotate some backs. I don't think it's as important as far as usage, depending on the guys that you've got, but they have to be able to make a guy miss in the second level. They have to be able to get an extra 2 or 3 yards after contact here and there. Not every time, but here and there, that has to be part of your run game, is your running backs have to be solid. Next, I would go second to the bottom here is a secondary. I think a secondary is important. There's a lot of teams that like to throw the ball. I think we've got exploited in that area before. I just don't see them as important because they're furthest away from the ball. They're still important. All these positions are important to an extent, but I just think it's the second to least important because my least important is wide receivers, and that's who ultimately is defending them. Another thing over the last couple of years that I have just amongst talking to people and thinking about these teams and how they're formed at all levels in football, having success. How many of these stud teams have just elite wide receivers? I mean, there's a few. There's exceptions, right? Look at some of the teams this year in college football. I would say Ohio State had some pretty elite wide receivers, and they won the national title. Great. They also had elite running backs. They also had an elite offensive line. Quarterback position, Will Howard was serviceable. Penn State, you're telling me they had elite wide receivers? No. Notre Dame, absolutely not. Texas, yeah, they had a couple of pieces, but I wouldn't say necessarily elite. Look at the other teams that made the playoffs. Boise State, Arizona State. Okay, we talked about them already. Their strengths running the ball. SMU, they like to run the ball. Receivers at the college level, and now look at the pro level. The Kansas City Chiefs, tell me how many elite wide receivers they have had in their 6 or 7 year AFC championship appearance in a row run. Tyreek Hill for a little bit, you could call him elite. Kelsey, tight end. Tight end's in a unique position now that I'm bringing that up. Where do you throw tight end at? Offensive line and receiver. So I guess you want to balance it out first and last. They're right in the middle as far as importance goes. But the Chiefs, it's a committee of wide receivers. They just plug and replace because they have all the other pieces. Look at the Eagles. Look what they did last year and the year before. Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown. Okay, yeah, they're good receivers and maybe elite, but look what they added this year and look where their identity has shifted to in 2024 and 25. Offensive line, run the football. Saquon Barkley, by far the best running back in the NFL this year. Look at the Lions. The Lions score points at will this year. Amon-Ra St. Brown, great. Can anybody tell me who their number 2 receiver is? That's not a fantasy football guru. My point is wide receivers, they're not very important. If you have the other pieces and things, your identity, and you establish the run game, your receivers are going to get open and make plays. And I get it. We've had guys and we've blamed our receivers. Our receivers just don't get open. I get it. But man, every year, all we hear about is how good these transfers are and how much improved our receivers. That I'm not disagreeing with that, but let's focus on the offensive line first. Let's focus on getting the establish exactly what we want up front, the players closest to the ball, and work our way out. The wide receiver position, I don't think is very important. Out of every position on the team that you want to categorize, I think it's the absolute bottom. I don't even think it's close. Does it help to have elite playmakers? It does. In fact, I would say it more so helps to bail you out. Samurai Toure, a guy like that. Wandale, a guy like that. Guys that can just flat out run. I think that helps. But man, I don't think it's the difference maker on a football team is having a good wide receiving group. So, anyways, thought that was a good good discussion to have here as we're building our roster for the next year, as we start to talk about our spring roster heading into the 2025 season. What is important? What does this coaching staff believes is important? Because we're not going to know. We're going to hear that every position is important and how everything's going well, because that's what we do at Nebraska. And that's what we're going to hear, and how great everything is. What is truly going to get valued is going to show on the field when we play Cincinnati in Arrowhead Stadium starting in 2025. That's going to tell us the direction we're going. Will Dillon have lost any weight and look a little more mobile? We've heard that he's going to, and it's important. Let's see it. Let's see it. Okay, last topic, conversation here. College football playoff wraps up. Ohio State, Nebraska loses to them by 4. And, right around then, the Michigan loss just seemed to spark Ohio State, and the best team won the college football playoff this year. I don't think that's a question. I don't think you can debate it. They went through Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, and Notre Dame in 4 games and won the national title. Name any other team in college football that could take that 4-game stretch and do that. There's not one out there, by the way, any team was playing at the end of the year. In fact, did we get the 2 best teams in the championship? I think we might have. What other format do people think would have produced different teams the way that everybody was playing at that point in the year? Texas was Texas. Georgia, we saw what happened to Georgia throughout the year. It wasn't the normal Georgia we knew in the past few years. Oregon, great, you're undefeated. But we saw their flaws. They were the undefeated team, rightfully so. They were the number 1 seed. That's great. But Ohio State almost should have won the first time they played, and then they just absolutely obliterated them in the quarterfinals. So there's all this talk and media and conversation about restructuring, reformatting, redoing the seating. Can we just relax and let it play out for a couple of years? I get it. Boise State, Arizona State, the 3 and 4 seeds this year. I get it. That was unique. Did they earn their way? Yeah, they did as far as what they could do. I get it. But did it impact the final result of what you want out of a college football playoff, ultimately crowning the best team in college football? No, it didn't. And yeah, all 4 teams that played in the first 4 won in week 2. People are going to play the excuse card. Well, the bye. These teams had a bye, and these teams shouldn't have had a bye. Okay, that's fine. But guess what? If all the teams with the bye would have won, it would have been, oh, it's unfair to the teams that didn't play in week 1 or it's unfair to the teams that did play because they're banged up and they had to play an extra game. There's always going to be reasons and justifications and excuses. I totally understand that. That's what the media and all the talk around college football, that's what they want. They just want constant conversation. But I think we got what we wanted this year. And I don't see any problem with the way that it was formatted. It's not going to stay because there'll be too many people that complain about it. I'm guessing we'll see 14 or 16 teams soon. There may be a restructuring of the rankings, yada, yada, yada. It's whatever. There's more football going on now, which is what I care about. And the best team still won. By playing a tournament, no matter what style you do of anything, I think more than 8 teams, you're probably going to get the best team to win it. That's ultimately whoever wins the championship is the best team. We say it in college basketball every year. They've had a 64-team tournament for 68 team for who knows how long. If anybody wants to argue that the best team doesn't win it, how can you? They're the ones that won 6 straight. That is just the reality. The best team wins the tournament. Now you play a series like the NBA, like baseball, where there's maybe a little bit more volatility. Yeah, but when it comes to football and lining 2 teams up, if you can't find a way to win in 60 minutes of football, then you're not the better team of the 2. Saying that for years about Nebraska, the best 3-9 team ever. No, we weren't. We won 3 games. You have 60 minutes to prove you can win a game. My take on the playoff, I wish we would just leave it, let it play out. I get it. The conference realignment stuff is going to continue. The Pac-12's already got new teams in it next year. It's going to look different, so we're going to have to adjust it for stuff like that. But let's not go all in cahoots about the format and how if this, if that, if then. It's never going to be perfect. Nobody's ever going to be completely satisfied with the way. Let's leave it for a few years, see what happens. Obviously, restructure as needed, but let's just let it be. All right, that'll do it for myself. Again, unique episode this week. We'll be back next Sunday, release on Monday. Hopefully, Nebraska basketball can find a way to get back on the winning side of things. Go Big Red.